Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk with our host, Pastor Finkley. This is going to be an exciting time. Let's talk. Follow Pastor Finkley on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Periscope, Instagram to keep up with the latest updates concerning the Let's Talk show. Well, hello everybody. This is Pastor A.D. Finkley, Senior Pastor of Global Restoration Center. And hey, listen, friends, I'm coming to you live from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And hey, I want to take this time out to welcome you to the Let's Talk show. That's right, the Let's Talk show. It is a new show that I'm pioneering. It's something that I just felt led to do, and so we're going to be working with this particular programming here. Let's Talk. For the next couple of weeks, just to kind of get some things ironed out and make sure that our broadcasting is the best broadcasting that could possibly be done. And say, listen, friends, this particular format here, hey, it is just simply a discussion. That's right. That's why I entitled this particular program entitled Let's Talk. You know, sometimes when you get into conversation, there are people that are talking at you. But listen, this is not that kind of program. We don't necessarily want to talk at anybody. We just want to talk with you. That's right. And so that's why I labeled it, let's talk. Let's just have some general conversation, because I believe with all of my heart that when we have these general conversations, that listen, all of us come out a whole lot better. Sometimes, it's not necessarily that you need whatever problems you're having, whatever kind of things that you're going through fixed. But here it goes. Sometimes you just need to talk about them. That's right. You just need to talk about them. And so we thank God for this platform. We thank him for giving us the setup to be able to bring this kind of programming live all throughout the world. And so listen, friends, we are excited. We're excited, and we have a wonderful topic tonight that we're just going to talk about. That's right. We're just going to talk about, and listen, perhaps share some biblical insight and biblical light on a particular subject. And so listen, this is designed to be a interactive program. And so what I did was I set up a 800 number. I won't be able to take a bunch of calls, but I am able to take some calls, and I'm gonna put up the slide so you can kind of see for yourself what I'm speaking of is in terms of. But I've set up an 800 number so that I can get some calls. I can take some calls at some point within the programming. We're only going to be on here 1 hour, but sometime within the programming, I could take a call or two, and perhaps we can, if you're brave enough, we can get you live on the air. And so you may see this little earpiece in my ear. That's to make sure that I'm able to monitor the calls, and I'm able to bring anyone that desires to be a part of the program on. But listen, friends, now this is a Christian program. Let me put that little disclaimer out there. This is a Christian program, and so we'll be discussing Christian topics. We'll be looking at things from a Christian world view. Some topics may get a little sticky with time. We'll start out a little light tonight, and then surely we'll progress into some greater things as we move along. But listen, I'm looking forward to bringing the Let's Talk program to Facebook. We are on YouTube, and ultimately we will expand. We will expand this particular show. We'll be on Periscope, Twitter. We have the setup. Everything is put into place for us to do that. And ultimately, what is coming outside of that is we're going to be streaming this particular program here on Instagram. That's right, on Instagram. And so we have everything in place. I just haven't finished putting the final touches on our Instagram page. And listen, when we are on Instagram, we will be streaming to at Pastor Finkley. That's right, at Pastor Finkley on Instagram. And so God has opened up a tremendous door for us to be able to be on all of these platforms simultaneously. And so we're just grateful. We're grateful for the door that the Lord has opened for us to be able to bring some heartfelt and some godly programming. That's right, godly programming. And so let me put this slide up, and we'll just talk about this here before we jump into what we're going to be discussing tonight, because I believe that what we're going to talk about tonight on Let's Talk is something that all of us can identify with. And listen, especially during this time, all of us have faced in one form or the other, but to God be the glory. So just give me a moment here, and I'm gonna put this slide up. And so here we go. We got it up, and this is the promo flyer that I made for this particular show. It's called Let's Talk. It's a live service. We are streaming live from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I like to say the great city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It is a great city. I love Winston-Salem. It's a tremendous city. I thank the Lord for planting me here in this particular city, and not only planting me here, but also calling me to a work here. He could have sent me anywhere in the world, but he decided that Winston-Salem, North Carolina would be the place that I would call home. Been here over 20 years now, and so we're thankful for that. And so listen, we're screaming to Facebook. We're on YouTube. Also, we're screaming to our church page. We're screaming to our public figure page. And as I said, once we get a few more things ironed out, we will expand that. We have the capability to be able to expand that. So some people don't actually like being on Facebook. Can you believe that? But some people don't like being on Facebook. Some people like being on Instagram. There are other people who like being on Periscope. Believe it or not, there is still an audience on Periscope. That's right. Some people enjoy Twitter. They're more Twitter prone. And so we want to be able to have the programming, especially Let's Talk. We want to have this programming on any platform that any individual likes to use. Everybody don't like to use Facebook. And so here it goes. You can find me on Facebook at Pastor A.D. Finkley, at Pastor A.D. Finkley. You can Google that in and you will find me. Perhaps you are watching me on Pastor A.D. Finkley, but I must mention that because we are on these different platforms. And so if somebody may be scrolling through Facebook and say, I want to find this preacher, this talk show host on Facebook. And so there you go. You have it. It's at A.D. Finkley. And so here it goes. Here's a toll-free number that you can call into the program. Listen, we will open up the program to see if we get any calls. But listen, you can write this number down, even if you don't feel led or you don't have the courage or whatever you want to call it tonight to call in. This is the 800 number, 877-323-6646. It's a toll-free number. It'll bring you right into the program, right into the studio. And listen, we'll do our best to get a few people in because we certainly like to hear from our friends. We certainly like to hear from our friends. Everyone has been having a blessed week. I know that it is Monday, and hey, on Mondays, sometimes some people say that Monday can be one of the most challenging days. Some people say that. They can say Monday can be one of the most challenging days of the week because you are returning to work after the weekend. But I do believe that sometimes we got to remember there are some people who work the weekends, who work the weekends, who don't have a Saturday off and a Sunday off. When you take somebody like me, listen, I'm always working, whether I'm at my local occupation or whether I'm working in the ministry. I am constantly working. And so, listen, friends, Monday is still the Lord's day. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's still the Lord's day, and we've got to make a choice. That's right, to be glad and certainly to rejoice. And so, on today's program, the thing that I want to talk about is a simple topic called overcoming adversity. I'm telling you, overcoming adversity is simply what I want to talk about. Sometimes, all of us in our own personal lives, and listen, I don't know. Somebody may be there right now, but all of us at some time in our own personal lives. Listen, I'm telling you, we will face, tremendous adversity. When we think about the time in which in which we are living in now, I mean, you're talking about a great level of adversity when you think about the way that COVID-19 has affected our whole economy. It has just affected the lives of so many. We could speak in terms that it is adversity, but I mean, you talking about a really adverse tragedy is really what we could say. And I'm telling you that sometimes when we are in the middle of that, when we are in the middle of just a tragic situation or some adverse circumstances, it can feel like, and I know that feelings are not real. Well, I can't say that feelings are not real. I'll take that back. I know that feelings are not necessarily what is true, because you can feel a thing, but that doesn't mean that what you're feeling is necessarily true. It may be true to you, but it is not. How can I say this? Is not necessarily facts, because I could feel like I'm hopeless about some things, but that doesn't mean that there's still not hope in God. I hope I'm making sense with that. I don't want to sound like I'm splitting hairs, or that I'm talking about something I don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm not splitting hairs, and I certainly know what I'm talking about tonight. But sometimes when you are in the middle of a adverse situation, you're facing severe adversity. Times in life are challenging. You can get the sense and you can feel that you are absolutely, in a hopeless place. And sometimes, to be quite frank, I run into people who have this tendency to come off like they're super spiritual. And we're just talking. We're not knocking anybody, because everybody's faith is different. When it comes to certain things, everybody has a certain faith level. This is why the Bible says, faith come by hearing by the word of God. In other words, we can increase, or we can grow our faith. It's just like Jesus spoke to the young man. He says, the young man said to the Lord, he says, Lord, I believe, but help thou my unbelief. In other words, there's always an area for growth when it comes to having faith. And sometimes, I don't know about you, this is not a Bible study, but we're just talking. Sometimes you can find yourself in certain situations and in certain predicaments where it just simply feels like, hey, this is going to be it. This is going to be the end. And whenever we fall into, and I've been there, I'm not on a soapbox tonight, but I've been there in that place where, I just felt hopeless. I wasn't hopeless, but it was the way that I felt. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes you can feel a certain way and it can feel real to you, even though it's not the truth. I wasn't hopeless, but I actually felt like I was hopeless. I felt like things were going to not turn out well. I felt like, this was certainly going to be the end. And let me tell you something, whenever you feel like that, sometimes you have a tendency to run into someone who is, they own cloud nine. They swimming around heaven all day. And I'm not knocking anybody's faith. You run into somebody and say, oh, child, get up and hold your head up and, be strong in the Lord. And that's good, because you really need to hear that. You really do. You really need to hear that, because those are the kind of things that's going to lift your spirit. Those are the kind of things that's going to build you up. When you hear those kind of things and you are dealing with the adverse situation, you're in the midst of a very strong tragedy. Those words have a tendency sometimes to fall on deaf ears. And listen, if we would be honest, we've all, if you haven't, just keep on living and you will get to that place. It doesn't mean that you don't love God. It doesn't mean that you don't have some level of faith. It doesn't mean that, you don't believe that God has the ability to change things in your life or to bring you out. It doesn't mean that, but it's just the way you feel at the moment. I mean, it's just the way you feel at the moment. You feel like God has abandoned. You feel like, you ask this question. Now, you don't say it at church because it's not necessarily the church thing to say, but you do say to yourself, where is God? Shouldn't God be here? Shouldn't God show up, and shouldn't God be in the midst of what's going on? That's how it is sometimes. And for some people, when we are dealing with adversity or adverse situations, when there is a tragedy that's in place. And quite frankly, friends, when we think about the effect of the coronavirus, and I mean the fallout behind it, we are seeing the fallout behind it in our economics. We're seeing the fallout behind it with the schooling system. I mean, on every tier, we're seeing the fallout behind it. What a tragic thing, to the eyesight of some. What a tragic thing that has happened with this particular pandemic. And this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up. Because sometimes we can get caught up into, the news. We can get caught up into, what we got going on personally. We can get caught up into, some of the things that we, wish we were able to accomplish and we were trying to get done, and kind of forget that for a lot of people, COVID-19 has been an adverse situation. You got to think in terms of your business owners. It's adversity, man. It's an adverse situation because here it is when you used to have steady cash flow. Now you don't have it. You got to think in terms that for a lot of people, COVID has been a tragedy. Oh my God. I mean, people have lost loved ones, and I'm telling you, not able to have a normal funeral. You're not able to have a proper home going as you normally would, and that's just tragic. It really does break my heart. But here it goes. This is the thing that I want to really bring home to somebody, and one of the reasons why I chose this particular topic to launch the Let's Talk show about dealing with adversity and dealing with tragedy is simply because of this, is that even though in the midst of tragedy and in the midst of adversity, God will always cause us to triumph. You gotta remember that. You gotta remember that. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like God will cause us to triumph. But listen, we can't live off our feelings, and that's the key thing. And I know that perhaps there's somebody that's watching who has been through some things in life. You experienced, some adversity. You experienced some great level of tragedy. And looking back in hindsight, that's right. Looking back in hindsight, you can see how the Lord has just caused you to come out of that low place, and he has raised you up, and he has lifted you to lofty heights. And so, I want to just have a talk about that, because sometimes, like I said, in the flow of life, we forget about these things. We forget that if tragedy is not at our doorstep, if adversity is not at our doorstep, then sometimes we have a tendency to forget that we have friends, we have neighbors, we have co-workers who are dealing with some severely adverse situations. And it appears and it seems like that. Listen, there's absolutely no hope. There's absolutely no way of coming out of it. But the good news is that is not the truth. And listen, I'm telling you, when you're going through those kind of things, one of the best things that you can do is talk to somebody about it. That's right. I know we ought to talk to God. I know we should. I'm a firm believer that we should be talking to God. I'm serious. We should be talking to the Lord. I'm a firm believer of that. But here it goes, friend. I also believe that there's a little bit of God in me and there's some God in you. And listen, sometimes we can talk to God in our private time, but sometimes we need to come together with somebody who is godly and somebody who has God within them, and share with that individual, because talking helps us get over a whole lot of things. And so I know that in the mindset of a lot of people, when they go through a few things, they say, well, I don't want to really talk about it. I don't want to really share. I don't want nobody to, here it goes, because some people are private. They're private. They're going through these moments, and they're private people. They just don't like to share. But hey, I'm telling you this, that we've been called to walk this thing out together. We've been called to walk this life out together. And so it does us some good. I'm telling you, it does us some good. It does us some good to sit down or pick up the phone and talk to somebody that we can trust, because adverse situations, tragedy that happens in the midst of our lives, I'm telling you, if we don't have, we know we got the Lord, but if we don't have somebody to help us walk through those things, I'm telling you, going through those things can be a very difficult thing. And so this is why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because I know personally some people that are going through some things. I'm telling you, they're going through. You hear me? I know personally some people who are dealing with some adverse situations. And sometimes, you can hear the preaching from the pulpit. Sometimes I do it too. We get on live and, we are going hard and, we are just preaching a lot of times at people and not necessarily talking to people. But I wanted to create a platform where I could just talk to you, simply talk to the people, something just a little bit more laid back. We're not necessarily, going to pull a text. And I do have a biblical example, but, I wanted to just talk to you and let you know that if you are in the midst of one of these challenging times, it's adversity that's in your life. If you're dealing with a tragedy, that, listen, I want to be the one to personally tell you that, listen, God will see you through it. That's right. He'll see you through it. Now, I don't have all the details of how he's going to get you through it. Amen. I don't. I would like to say that I have all the details of how God is going to get you through this season of your life. But I'm telling you, I'm going to be honest. And I'm not going to get on here and profit lie. I'm going to tell you the truth. I know that God's going to see you through because he's promised to see us through in his rich word. But listen, we got to make sure that we're willing to trust him enough. That's right. Trust him enough to see us through some of these trying times and some of these adverse moments. Because I'm telling you, God's agenda is to get the glory out of your life. That's right. His agenda is to get the glory out of your life. And one of the ways he does that is that he brings us out of these adverse situations. He brings us out these great moments of tragedy. And I know I got somebody who's watching this screen, who will be watching this screen, that can testify that it was the Lord that brought it. He brought me. I mean, I know, listen, I have to speak for myself. I mean, there have been times when life has fell in on me. I mean, just fell in on me. And I'm going to tell you something. Because we just talking tonight, right? I'm going to tell you something. It's one thing to have life fall in on you, but it's another thing to have life fall in on you and you the pastor. Why? Why did I say that? I say that because, here it is. You've got to keep teaching. You got to keep serving on behalf of the Lord. And life has caved in on you. You don't have the sweet privilege of being able to stop and take a month break or a month and a half break. Not if you're genuinely called to work, because that call is still ringing within your belly, and so you press through and you work through what you're actually facing in life. But let me tell you something, friend. I can testify to you that, man, I've had some tragedy. I've had some tragedy. I've had some adverse situations, and sometimes I had adversity and tragedy at the same time. They were joined together. And I felt like I was going to just wave the white flag. I felt like I was just going to, say, Lord, I surrender all. And, not saying I surrender myself, but Lord, I surrender all of this call. I surrender the ministry. I surrender everything that you entrusted. I surrender it all. That was going to be my song. I surrender all. But here it goes. I'm telling you, in the moment in which I least expected, this will let me know that God be working behind the scenes. He be working behind the scenes. In the moments that I least expected, that's when God stepped in. That's when the Lord delivered. That's when the Lord healed. That's when the Lord brought me out with a high hand. That's when the Lord, said, okay, my son, I am going to step in. I'm going to step in. I'm going to step in this moment. And listen, I just want to relay that to somebody tonight. That it's going to be in the moment when you least expect it that God's going to step right in. And I'm telling you what he's going to do. He's going to turn it. He's going to turn it all around. He's going to turn it all around. And so if you find yourself tonight That's right. We're just talking now. We're just talking. We're just talking. It's just us. We're just talking. That's all we're doing. We're just talking. You find yourself tonight in the midst of adverse situations. I mean, it's a challenging time. It's challenging for you. I mean, I've been there. I've been there. I've been there. I've been there. It's just been a challenging time. And you find yourself there tonight. Listen, I come as a bearer of good news to you because of care. And that is, here it goes, God's going to see you through that. That's right. I know it might not feel like it. I know it might not seem like it, because when you're in the middle of it now, it's different when you're on the outside of it. You know how you have great faith when you're not going through nothing at that time? You just have all this tremendous faith in God. You believe the Lord. You say, yes, I believe God. And then, boy, when the moment hits, and it gets tough, I'm telling you, it's like, wait a minute. What happened? And I know some folk are, so religious, they'll say, no, I don't never have that moment. Well, I'm sorry, I hadn't got there yet. The Lord's still working on me. I'm a work in his hand. I hadn't got there yet. Maybe I will get there, but I hadn't got there yet. I hadn't got there yet. And so the Lord he's still working, and he's still molding on me. But listen, if you find yourself in the midst of adversity tonight, I want to let you know, this is the purpose of the show. I want to let you know while we're talking that, listen, God's going to see you through that. If you find yourself tonight dealing with a tragedy, listen, I want you to get some sweet sleep tonight, because God will turn that tragedy right into a place of triumph. I'm telling you, I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it in my own personal life. And listen, there's some folk that are watching. God has did it. God has done that thing in your life. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How God has showed up out the middle of nowhere when you thought that it was over. I'm telling you, thought, man, if we tell the truth, there was sometimes we was questioning the existence of God. Don't say that. We just talking. It's just us. We talking. Now, I know we won't go to church and say that kind of stuff, but man, if life hits you right, question mark comes into the back of your mind. And you say, Lord, I mean, what in the world? It comes into the back of your mind. But listen, it was at the moment that you least expected that God turned that thing around and, listen, bear witness to your spirit. It wasn't because you heard somebody preach it. It wasn't because you heard somebody prophesy it. It wasn't because you read it out of a book. But listen, God did it in such a way that you witnessed it with your own eyes, and you declared, he's still alive. My God, he's still alive. He's still on the throne. He's still moving. He's still doing a tremendous thing. And so I want someone to be encouraged tonight, because I want to talk to you as a friend. I want you to be encouraged tonight. I know it may be adverse, but don't you worry about that adversity. Keep your eyes on the Lord. That's right. Keep your eyes on God. That's right, friend. Keep your eyes on the Lord. And I'm telling you, he's going to see you through that. Someone may be dealing with a tragedy. Like I said, I know several people who are dealing with some tragic situations. And I'm telling you, deep down within, when you are dealing with a tragedy now, I'm talking about a tragedy, something, traumatic that has happened. And listen, let me tell you something. A tragedy that happens suddenly is a tragedy that really shakes you to the core, because it was something that you wasn't expecting. You're never really expecting a lot of things, but I'm talking about something that happens that you wasn't expecting. That will shake you. Come on. It will shake you. It will reveal the kind of hope. We call it hope here. It will reveal what kind of grip you have on God. Let's say it like that. It'll reveal it. It'll uncover it. And I'm telling you, there's been some tragedy in my own personal life that, man, I found out that I needed to be closer than what I was. Now, I declared that I was close. I felt like I was close, but tragedy hit, and I'm telling you, I had to tighten up my grip on God. But listen, God will certainly see you through. And so from one friend to another, I'm simply saying this, that God will see you through adversity and tragedy. He'll see you through those things. And so you don't have to feel like, this is the end of the world, because it's not, friend. Oh, I got an example tonight. You don't have to feel like, hey, it's over for me. Because listen, friend, it's not over until God says it's over. Come on. I'm reminded of what the word of the Lord says tonight. See, when I get to start talking about these things, you know what happens to me? Faith starts swelling up in me. And I start quoting the word of God. Faith begins to swell up in me. Because you know what the word of the Lord says? It says simply this: thou shalt not die, thou shalt live and not die, and declare the works of the Lord. Listen, that kind of stuff just swells up in me. I'm telling you, when I was dealing with some moments, the word of God come up in me, and I mean faith would swell up in me, right? And God saw me through, and he's going to see you through. That's right. He's going to see you through. And so sometimes you have to fight the feelings in which you feel. You may be feeling it, but just because you feel it doesn't mean that that's what it is. Feelings will fool you. This is why you never should move off of emotions. Emotions, they come and go. I was dealing with some tragedy last year that happened in my own personal life. And I got some examples that I'm going to give you here. But I was dealing with some tragedy in my own personal life last year. It was like one thing right after the other. I mean, just like that. Boom, 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 boom. Just tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. One right after the other. All unexpected. And let me tell you something. I felt like it was over. I mean, it just got greater and greater. I felt like it was over. When I got to the end of last year, 2019, oh man. And I still had to preach. I still had to teach. I was running a ministry, and I'm telling you, life, the normal life as I knew it, had fell apart. And I'm telling you, I felt like it was over. That was just the way I felt. But it wasn't over. It wasn't over. And listen, I can sit here tonight and say that God saw me past what I was facing at the end of 2019. 2019 was something. And I know we talking about 2020, but for me and my family, 2019 was something. You hear me? It was something. But looking back in hindsight, with all of that tragedy that took place in such a short amount of time, at the moment, it felt like I couldn't live beyond that. We wasn't going to get beyond that. But here it goes. Man, we in August, getting ready to be September. We got I think about a week left in August. We got a week left in August. We're getting ready to go into September. And I'm telling you, the Lord is good. Come on. The Lord is worthy to be praised. I'm telling you, God raised me up right up out of that tragedy. He didn't let the tragedy take me under. Come on. And what I'm trying to tell you tonight is that, listen, God is not going to allow the tragedy to take you under. That's good news. That's good news. And that's what we're talking about tonight. That's right. That's what we're talking about tonight. And so you say, well, preacher, it's not me. Well, it might be your friend. It might be a cousin. Listen, it might be a coworker. And you need to take that good news to them and remind them that the tragedy, the adversity, God is not going to allow it to take them under. That's good news. That is good news. Listen, that is a reason to say, hey, I'm going to fight for another day. That's right. That's right. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but yeah, I'm going to fight for another day. That's right. I'm going to fight for another day, because tomorrow may be the day that the Lord turn it around for me. Yes. Come on. It just might be the day that the Lord turns it around. I don't know. Listen, if he allows my eyes to open tomorrow, that could be the day for me. That's right. It could be the day. And I want you to know that it could be the day for you. And so that's what I just wanted to talk about. I want to talk about these tragedies, man. Because sometimes you can get into the midst of tragedy and you can be looking at everybody else, and it seems like everybody else is not having a problem in the world. I don't know if you ever felt like that. I wish we were in a room where we could, I know we're doing social distance, so we're not able to kind of do that right now. But I'm telling you, when I come out of social distance, I'm gonna just get people together. We're just gonna sit down and we're just gonna talk about some things. Just talk about this life. Talk about the challenges in which we face in life, the kind of things in which we go through. on this level, on a sit down, and let's break bread and just talk. Just simply talk. Let's talk about it, because that's therapeutic within itself. I know we can talk to God. But man, we need to sit down and talk to one another. We really do. We need to sit down and talk to one another, because that's therapeutic within itself. It helps us. And so I wanted to create a program where, we're not, necessarily, this is a bit, I'm a preacher. So I'm sorry. A word gonna come out somewhere or another, it's going to be a word that's involved with what I'm doing. Excuse me. It's going to be a word that's involved in what I'm doing. I said last night I was yesterday afternoon I was online again doing another show, another program that I'm a part of, the National Prayer Gathering, and I said that I'm sorry, I am called to be a gospel preacher, and so I'm sorry. For some reason, I feel in my life at this time it's time to go full circle with this thing, and so it's going to come out. There's going to be some biblical example. There's going to be something centered around the word, regardless of what we're talking about. And tonight we're just talking about tragedy and adversity. And the reason in which we're talking about that is because if we look around, I'm serious now, if we look around, man, the earth is full of adversity. The world is full of tragedy. And the devil would love nothing more than to convince us that it's going to be over for us. Yeah, it's going to be over for us. This is it. This is you through. Yeah, I don't know if you ever had that said to you, but I've had it said to me, Andre, you through. But oh, my. Man, I could go back to John chapter 10. Jesus said that the devil, he's not only a liar, but he's the father of a lie. That's right. And when he tried to convince me that it was over, that I was done, that it was the end, that I was not going to go any further than the tragedy or the adversity, God made him out of a lie every single time. Not just one time, but every single time. And that's how I want you to see it. As your friend, I'm telling you, that's how I want you to see it. I want you to see it from that standpoint. The adversity and the tragedy, it can't hold a child of God. Oh no. And I got Bible backing me tonight. I'm not preaching a service, but I got Bible backing me. When I say that, boy, I be feeling God. I got Bible backing me tonight. But I'm telling you, listen, it cannot stop a child of God. And so don't let yourself fall to pieces. I know we're closely moving towards the end of this program, but here it goes. Don't let yourself fall into that hopeless state because there's adversity and because you're dealing with tragedy. I know it's difficult. I'm not going to sit here and be so high and holy that I'm not going to tell you the truth. Oh no, I'm going to tell you the truth. Some of this stuff some of these folks are going through, I'm telling you, man, it's tragic. My heart is aching. My heart is broken. I really am. I'm broken in spirit, and I'm broken in my heart because of the tragedy that I see people going through. Oh man, tragedy people are going through. They've had to endure. I was speaking with my sister the other day. Well, a couple of days ago, and we were just saying. I said, Lord, I'm so tired of hearing such tragic news. Such tragic news. We've been hearing a lot of tragic news here lately, and I was sharing with her. I said, I'm so tired of hearing such tragic news. But here it goes. I mean, it is a part of life. It's that season. But I know God is going to take that tragedy and cause triumph to come out of it. And I got Bible backing me tonight. And so I want someone to just simply be encouraged. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Just be encouraged. Get your spirit up. Get your spirit up. Pull your spirit up. And the reason why I say pull your spirit up is because I know for a fact that, listen, God's not going to leave you there, friend. Well, maybe it's not me. But listen, you know a friend, a coworker who, is dealing with something. That's dealing with some hard times. And I'm saying, and it seems as if it's something every day. Lord knows it does. It seems like it's something every day. That's the way it seems. But I'm telling you, God has not forgotten us. And he's going to see to it that we come through. That's right. He's going to see to it that we come through, and we're going to be able to live to tell of the goodness of the Lord. That's right. We're going to be able to live to tell the goodness of the Lord. Might not feel like it, might not seem like it, but we're going to be able to live and tell the goodness of the Lord. So let me give you a couple of scriptures, just to give some biblical understanding concerning what I just said, because we're talking about dealing with adversity. And so David said this in Psalm chapter 34 and verse number 19. He says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous." In other words, the righteous individual, man, we're going to go through all kind of stuff. Sometimes when people lead us to the Lord, they lead us to the Lord up under the ideal that once we come to Jesus, we're never going to have any problems. Once we get saved, once we come into the fold, once we give our life to Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, a lot of times that throws a lot of people off. Because they think, man, I came to Jesus. They told me if I came to Jesus that I wasn't going to have these problems. I wasn't going to have these situations going on. I wasn't going to have these circumstances. A lot of people, they get thrown off by that. It's like, wait a minute, I came to the Lord and I'm still having problems. I should have just stayed where I was at. I know maybe you never said that. But man, I remember when I was young in the Lord and things would hit, and they would hit right. And I would say, man, now when I was out in the street, I didn't have this problem, but I didn't realize that God was maturing me. And that's another talk. That's another talk we can have another day. That's another talk we can have another day. But David said in Psalm 34 and verse number 19, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous." In other words, the righteous goes through a lot of things. A lot of things we go through, a lot of things we have to deal with. That's right. A lot of things that we have to deal with. But here it goes, friends. You got to keep on reading. Don't stop there. "Many are the afflictions of the righteous." He says in verse number 19 on the second clause, "But the Lord does what?" Capital Lord. That means God. Whenever you see capital Lord in the Old Testament, that means God. He says, "But God," or the Lord, "delivereth him out of them all." That's right. In other words, he's saying this to us, that it doesn't matter what affliction that we have, God has a way of delivering you. He has a way of bringing you out. This is why I'm saying, be encouraged in the Lord. Let me put this number up for anybody that feel brave enough to call in. I said we was going to use, I didn't mean to utilize that much time, but I wanted to, take a little time to give everybody an opportunity to kind of hear what I'm saying, because we're just talking. Let's talk is what it's called. Let's talk. And so the number is 877-323-6646. And so you can call in. That's 877-323-6646. And we would do our best to get you in on the program if you desire so. And so here it goes. David says, listen, many are the afflictions of the righteous. I mean, there are all kind of things that we'll be going through. There are all kind of things that will be transpiring in our lives. I mean, we will be afflicted. But the good news is that we won't stay in the affliction. We go into the affliction, but God has the power to bring us out of it. And listen, I don't know about you, but that lifts my spirit. That lifts my spirit. I don't know if it lifts your spirit, but the Lord knows it lifts my spirit. It lifts me right on up. I feel pretty good after I hear that. That's right. That means what? That means that listen, if it's adversity or if it's tragedy, God will bring me through. He's promised. That's right. Come on, he's promised. The Lord will. Come on. The Lord will. Think about that. The Lord delivereth him out of them all. But the Lord, yeah, I'm going through it, but the Lord. So you got to factor God into what you're going through. Factor him in into what you're going through. Because I'm telling you, if he allowed you to go in it, now it sounds cliche, but it's true. If he allowed you to go in it, then there's power in God to bring you out of it. Think about that, friend. There's power in God to certainly bring you right on out of it. And that is good news. And so here it goes. Let's talk about my example. Right. That was my scripture of encouragement while we're talking. But here it goes. My example is Job. You talking about tragedy? Oh man. Listen, I don't know whether when the last time you read the book of Job. It's a big book now. It's not Come on, it's not a little small book. It's not Ruth. It's not the book of Ruth. Okay. Some people can read the book of Ruth and say, oh, I read the book of Ruth. Now, Job is another story, right? That's a larger book out of the Bible. But here it goes. When you look at Job, most people, get stuck on the first three chapters. The first three chapters, really the first two, is all about the tragedy. I mean, we won't get into that tonight because we're not doing a Bible study. You have to catch me on Wednesday night for Bible study. But Job chapter 1, chapter 2, I mean, it's just tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. The devil's walking to and fro, and the Lord summons him. You know the story. If you don't know the story, please go and read it because it will make a whole lot of sense as to what I'm about to say. I mean, Job goes through this great tragedy. I mean, and it's just tragic what he has to experience. That's right. It's tragic what he has to experience. I mean, he lost his wealth. He's lost his children. He's lost his health. I mean, by the time we get to chapter number 3, Job is got boils on his skin. He's scraping, his skin. I mean, this is tragic. This is absolutely tragic. And all of these things, was one right after the other. That's why I said, man, when you really going through some tragic moments, you really got to have a good grip on God. That's right. You got to have a good grip on God. You got to be solid in your walk with God, solid in your faith in God, faith in Jesus Christ. You got to be solid in those things because there's some of these things in our lives that'll shake us to the point where, listen, we are on the verge of giving up. But I'm telling you, Job went through there. And here it goes. I talk to a lot of people, and oftentimes, whenever we're discussing Job, we are stuck on the tragedy. That's right. We are stuck. Man, we get stuck on the tragedy of Job. We get stuck on Job's adverse situations. We get stuck on talking about how Job went through. And I mean, I don't know how many messages I've heard on how Job endured such difficulty and such trying times. And I'm telling you, rightfully so, because Job did go through a lot of things. That's right. And that should be mentioned because sometimes our life appears to be like Job. It really does. It just appears to be like Job in the fact that we have such challenges as we do. To be quite honest, it may not be on the same level as a Job, but man, there's still challenges with our own personal lives. And listen, we know this quite well. But here it goes. There is more written about the life of Job than just Job's tragedy. Think about that now, because this is why I said I wanted to talk about tragedy. I wanted to talk about adversity, because I want you to understand before we get off of here tonight that you will not stay there. God has the ability and the capability to see you right on through it. I'm telling you, he does. And we see that in Job's life. We see that God brings Job out. He brings him out. I'm doing some things here, saints, but we see that God brings Job out. And the same way that God brings Job out, he'll bring you out. But oftentimes when you talk to people, all they talk about is the tragedy. They talk about the tragedy of Job. Oh, it was so hard. Oh, it was so bad. I'm telling you, here go. I feel like Job. This is the kind of things that we say because we're focusing simply upon tragedy. But here it goes, friend. Whenever we get to Job chapter 42 and verse number 16, and this is the thought that I want to leave with you tonight while we are here on Let's Talk. This is the thought that I want to leave with you tonight. Job chapter 42 and verse number 16 simply says this, that, hey, after this, Job lived. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's one of the things that you got to remember. The Bible simply says, after this, Job lived. After what, Pastor? After what? After what? Explain after what to me. After what? After all of that tragedy. Because you remember in chapter 1 and chapter 2, I mean, it was immense tragedy in the life of Job. It was just a tragic thing that this gentleman had to endure. Tragic. I mean, I don't have time to go through it tonight because we're pressed for time. We've got about 8 minutes, and I'm getting off. I said 1 hour, right? We'll do the Let's Talk show, right? And so here it goes. Job, in all of this in which he faced, the Bible says, after this, Job lived. Just that first little clause. After this, Job lived. Man, that's enough to run about. In other words, after all of that tragedy that took place in Job's life, he still lived. He survived it. He made it through. The tragedy did not take him under. The adversity did not cause him to succumb. And so what am I saying to us tonight? Since we're simply talking about adversity and tragedy, I'm simply saying to you tonight, the same way in which God did not allow the tragedy of Job's life to be all that is written about Job's life, is the same way that God is not going to allow the adversity and the tragedy in which some of us are facing now to be all that is written about our lives. I don't know about you, but that's good news. That's good news to me. That's good news. That's from one friend to another. That's right. That's from one friend to another. That's not all going to be written. And so I want you to walk through the remainder of this week. And hey, we don't know what kind of challenges are going to be, waiting for us this week. We don't know. We would like to know, but we don't know. We don't know what kind of challenges are going to be waiting for us this week. We don't know what kind of things we're going to have to endure and pull through this week. We don't know. But one thing we do know, and that is simply this, that whatever God allows us to go into, he possesses the great ability to bring us out of it. That's good news. That's good news. That is good news. That is absolutely good news. And so, friends, listen, I pray that something was said on this particular program, a little bit more laid back. Something was said on this particular program that will help be a blessing to your life. And listen, I'm planning to do this on Mondays for as long as the Lord would have me to do it. I can't say that I'm going to do it forever. I'll do it as long as the Lord would have me to do it. And the moment that the Lord said, move on, I'm going to move on. You better know I'm going to move on. We serve a progressive God here, and that means he's a moving God, and we got to move with him. And so, listen, I pray that you have a blessed rest of the week, the remainder of the week, and that, listen, you stay encouraged in God. And remember, talk to God, but also find your friend that you can talk to too. This is Pastor A.D. Finkley bringing you this live program ready from the great city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And listen, friends, I want you to be blessed, and I certainly want you to be encouraged. And remember, let's talk. Let's just talk. God bless your family. Stay encouraged in God.